Hey, what up, guys? So, coming to you this morning, I want to knock out a couple today. I know I said I'd do my second one yesterday. I want to get through the awards so we can get to the divisions. Four awards to go over. This one is the best overall win of the year. So, it could have been a title fight, could have been a non-title fight. Doesn't really matter. It's just what I felt were the top five wins of the year overall. So, we're going to go division by division, and then we'll get into our finalists. When I say division by division, we're doing the best in the division for the guys that didn't make weren't finalists. So, but I still want to give some love to the 12 divisions that I follow religiously. So let's start with that. Let's go. So the best overall win rounds, which is super bantamweight, I'm giving that to his 12-round unanimous decision over Isaac Dogboe. This was a big fight coming in. Dogboe had up at Jesse Magdaleno earlier in the year, and Navarrete was kind of an unknown guy. He came in, and Dogboe was the number one at the time in the division, and Navarrete just beat him down. It was a pretty good. He knocked him down and pretty much just overwhelmed him, and and beat him up, and that was a pretty damn good win right there. So I got to hand it to him for win of the year at 122 pounds, and we could likely be seen according to Navarrete's dad. Dogboe's dad. I'm sorry. Next up, we're gonna go to 126 pound. The biggest win of the year there was Josh Warrington's 12-round unanimous decision over Carl Frampton. Warrington, was an undefeated champion coming into the fight, but most people, myself included, felt that Frampton was gonna pretty much whip his ass. And he fought really good in this fight, overwhelmed Frampton and forced Frampton into a firefight and just dominated him and dominated the action and got a pretty convincing unanimous decision and retained the title and moved up pretty high in the division. At the time, Frampton was the number 2 fighter in the division, and really you could make an argument for number 1 against Santa Cruz. The only reason I have Santa Cruz ahead of Frampton is they fought twice, and the last time they fought, Santa Cruz barely got by Frampton by a close decision. So that was the only reason. So you really could argue Frampton's case for number 1, but Warrington overwhelmed him and beat him convincingly. So this was a pretty big win right here for Warrington. Really made a name for himself at 126. The biggest win at 130, I'm going with Miguel Berchelt's 9th round TKO of Mickey Roman to retain a WB championship in that division. Berchelt was pretty much the number 1. Checo moved up in weight, and this was the fight to make a case against Roman. Roman for fighting the same nights that Berchelt. Berchelt finally fought the same day in February and in June against other opponents, and he stayed right there alongside with him for a to get the title shot, and finally Berchelt gave him the shot and ended up being a really good fight. And it was pretty much the only battle of 2 top 5 fighters in their year. So Roman was riding a lot of confidence after beating, like I said, pulled away in the second half of the fight and ended up stopping Roman and proving that he's the number 1 in the division. So a big win right here. Okay, so the biggest one of the year at 140 now, which is junior welterweight. I'm giving this one to Kiro Relic's 12-round unanimous decision over Rances Barthelemy. It was tough to choose one win in this division this year. It really was. It was really hard to choose one, but I'm going with this one because, Relic, it was a revenge fight, really, because there was, like I said, there was a long list of fights you could have chose from. You could have said, Victor Postol and Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor's win over Postol. But that wasn't a title fight, even though it led him to the World Boxing Super Series. This one right here was a tough one to call because, it was a rematch. And that's why I gave it to Relic. It was a rematch of a fight that last year most people felt Relic should have got the first fight. He should have got the decision in that one. And he got robbed. He really did. He got knocked down late in the fight, but he really got robbed in this one. And then in the rematch, most people felt Barthelemy was going to beat him because he was overlooking him in the first fight. That's what I thought too. And Relic just came in and dominated him even more in the second fight and proved that he was legit. It got him into the World Boxing Super Series, and kind of flew under the radar, but it was a pretty good performance. That was back in March on Showtime, so that's the one I gave it to for 140 pounds. Moving up to 147, which might be a finalist. Actually, it is. Okay. The 168. So the biggest win in the 168-pound super middleweight division. This one goes to Callum Smith's 7th-round knockout of George Groves. This was a big one. It was really hard to not put this in as a finalist, but it was just a big win for Callum Smith. At the times, Groves was the #1 fighter, and you know, at 168, he was a world champion. And Smith was, you know, this was the finals of the World Boxing Super Series, so Smith was coming in, you know, as a 2 seed. And I really thought it was a 50-50 fight, but I really didn't think he had a chance of knocking Groves out. And he went in there, and what a impressive finish. You know, it wasn't just the fact that he knocked him out, it was that he knocked him out impressively. Caught him with a mean punch in a close fight, and won the Super Series. And that was just such an impressive win. So hands down, this was the best win at 168 for the whole year. 175 now, biggest win of the year. I gave that to Eleider Alvarez's 7th-round TKO of Sergey Kovalev. And again, Kovalev was the #1 in the division coming into this fight. So, you know, it's either the #1 fighting or #2. It's right in that area that you're seeing the biggest wins of the year, you know. But when you knock off the #1 guy in the division, it's kind of hard to pick against that one. And, you know, this was a really big fight going in for, for Alvarez, but many people thought Kovalev was just going to run over another contender, but Alvarez was an undefeated contender coming in. You know, he was losing on the cards, but he was landing some good shots pretty much the whole. He just wasn't winning the fight on the scorecards. That was, Kovalev was definitely winning, but again, it was a good fight, and he caught him with an overhand right, a wicked one, and knocked him out. And just an impressive performance. So congrats to Alvarez for that one, for taking that, you know, for getting that win, because Kovalev's a beast, and he had only lost to Andre Ward, you know, and one of those losses was very controversial. So, and that's it for the non-finalists. Now we're gonna get into the finalists, who I gave the actual awards to. We're gonna give it to that. I mean, we're gonna look at that real quick. Sorry guys, drawing a blank here, and I'm driving, so this is not a, you know, trying to be safe still. Okay, so we have a 2-way tie for 5th for the win of the year. The first one I want to talk about is Vasily Lomachenko's 10th-round TKO of Jorge Linares. This was such a big fight coming in. Linares was the #1 at 135. Lomachenko was #1 at 130, moving up in weight, trying to win a championship in a 3rd different weight class. And it ended up being a tough fight. You know, this might not have made the list if Lomachenko would have came in and just dominated Linares like people thought he was going to do. It might not make the list. The fact that he faced adversity and it was a really close fight, and he scored a wicked knockout on with the shoulder messed up, and landed that left to the body. Man, that was huge. Just a huge comeback win right there in a very tight fight. And I really got to hand it to Lomachenko win. So yeah, that's my title win, or that's my win of the year, lightweight, and tied for 5th. Tying for 5th with that is Sean Porter's 12-round unanimous decision over Danny Garcia. I mean, this was definitely the biggest fight at 147 in 2018. A lot of people were looking forward to it, and you know, a lot of people thought it was going to be close, and I called Porter to win a very close decision, and that's exactly what happened. But man, these guys worked hard against each other. Danny landed some wicked shots, but Sean Porter just kept throwing, and he kept working, and he got a very close decision and became a 2-time world champion. And it was a huge win in that division, and it was a huge win for Porter, you know, who really needed that, given the fact that, you know, he was kind of the lesser known name, even though he's a pretty well-known fighter. But also, he's a guy not a lot of guys want to fight at 147. unless he's got a belt, you know. And now he does, and he's looking at likely a title shot against you know, a unification bout with Keith Thurman in a rematch this year, which is going to be really good. I would really look forward to that. So now number 4 for the win of the year, that goes to Jarrett Hurd for his split decision win over Erislandy Lara. You know, I've been saying it that this was such a big fight. It was a unification fight, and it was truly going to decide who the number 1 fighter was at 147, and I mean at 154. I'm sorry, super welterweight. And Hurd went in there and just kept grinding, kept coming. Lara was winning the first half of the fight, but Hurd just kept coming at him, used his size, used his power, and then a knockdown in the 12th round decided the fight. It literally was the difference in the fight and got him that split decision. So big win for Hurd. Congratulations to him on unifying belts and becoming the number 1 guy at 154. All right, so the best fight, number 3, the 3rd biggest win of the year, I gave that to Oleksandr Usyk's 12-round unanimous decision over Murat Gassiev to become the undisputed cruiserweight champion. This was the finals of the World Boxing Super Series. Big matchup going in, but this fight was going to be close after both Usyk really got tested against Maris. Had a war with a great fight and dominated Gassiev to unify belts and become the undisputed champion. Again, he's only the 4th man in history since the WBO title came into the frame in the early 90s. He's only, so at that you could say 25 plus years, he's only the 4th man to ever unify all 4 belts. And he did it in a tournament, an actual tournament. You know, that was impressive. So you really got to hand it to Usyk for this win. It was huge. It was huge for boxing. It made him a really big pound for pound name, and you know, he's rolling right now. So big time win, number 3. The 2nd biggest win of the year, I went with Deontay Wilder's 10th round TKO over Luis Ortiz to keep the WBC heavyweight title. Just such a big fight coming in. Both undefeated. Wilder was still. There's still a lot of questions about how good he was coming in. And Luis Ortiz, nobody wanted to fight. And it was just such a great back and forth fight. And these two guys, you know, Wilder was a number 2 in the division. Some could argue for number 1. And Ortiz was hands down at the time the number 1 ranked contender overall, you know. And it was a really good fight, you know, back and forth. We talked about it. I'm sure most of you guys have seen it. If you haven't, go watch that fight again. That was a classic. But Wilder knocked him down in the 6th round of a fight that he was losing. Then Ortiz came back and almost had Wilder out in the 7th round. You know, Wilder looked like he was about to collapse. And then, you know, the 8th round, the 8th and 9th round, it looked like Ortiz was still winning, but you know, Wilder started coming back into the fight in the 9th, and then in the 10th round, he just caught him with a wicked uppercut, put him down on his knees, and you know, and both guys were just so gassed, so tired. You saw how exhausted Wilder was after the win, but such a good performance by both guys. Great fight and a big win right there. So, you know, that was the number 2 win of the year. But the number 1 overall win of the year, it was my title win of the year. You know, winning a world title, and just because of the significance, and it was a rematch, I went with Canelo over Triple G, Gennady Golovkin. You know, again, very similar to title wins of the year, but this one was, you know, this one just was the overall best win of the year because you had the 2 best middleweights in the world going at it, unified middleweight crown on the line. Canelo, the biggest star in the sport. Triple G, probably pound for pound at the time, was, you could still argue and say he's number 1 because of what he's accomplished. And you know, it was just a great fight, a great brawl. Both guys went at it, and it was the first time I ever saw Canelo put his foot on the gas pedal against a great fighter like Triple G. And it was the first time I seen Triple G get tested and somebody, you know, push him like that, and he responded with great shots. Went to the cards in a seesaw battle that could have went either way, and Canelo got a hard-fought, close decision. And, you know, you have to give it to that one. Canelo's the biggest star in the sport. Look at the contract he signed after this. I mean, with the zone, that really proved that this guy is, the top dog in boxing right now. And
the first snow came, everyone predicted it so bad, and
so,
then Mayer gets accused
so that
of
was it.
overreacting.
Sorry,
now
guys.
It's
So that was it. That was it for the biggest win of the year. Hope you guys like this one, and I will talk to you guys later. I'm going to come back probably in a little bit here, and I'll do the most anticipated fights of the year. These are the fights that everybody was looking forward to in boxing this past year. So I'm going to come back with that, and I might even hit you guys with the fight of the years too. Like I said, I want to knock the awards out and get straight to the the list of the best fighters later on. So that's it, guys. I hope you like this. I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.